Hi, and welcome to English Channel. Are you learning English? Great. Let's learn English with a very interesting story. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Let's get started.
Introduction. Cleopatra is one of the most famous women in history. She was the last queen of ancient Egypt. Many people know her name, but few know her true story. Cleopatra lived in a world full of power, danger, and ambition. She was not only beautiful, she was also very smart and strong. She ruled a rich country and faced the most powerful men of her time. Her life was filled with love, great dreams, and deep tragedy. In this story, you will travel back to ancient Egypt and discover who Cleopatra really was and why her story still fascinates the world today. Part 1. The Making of a Queen. 1.1. A Royal Inheritance. Cleopatra was born in 69 BCE in the royal palace of Alexandria. Alexandria was one of the greatest cities in the ancient world. It was rich, busy, and full of knowledge. Scholars, traders, and rulers from many lands came to this city. Cleopatra was born into the Ptolemaic dynasty, a Greek family that ruled Egypt for almost 300 years. From the outside, her life looked perfect. She lived in luxury, surrounded by gold, servants, and power. But life in the royal family was very dangerous. The Ptolemies often fought each other for the throne. Brothers and sisters did not trust one another. Many family members were killed to gain power. From a very young age, Cleopatra saw these cruel struggles. She learned that being a queen was not only about wearing a crown, it was about surviving in a world full of enemies. These early lessons taught her to be careful, brave, and strong. 1.2. An education forged for power. Cleopatra understood that knowledge was power. She received an education that was rare, even for a princess. She was very gifted with languages. Cleopatra could speak at least 7 languages, including Greek, Latin, Hebrew, and Arabic. Most importantly, she learned the Egyptian language. She was the first ruler of her family to do this. Because of this, she could speak directly to her people. Cleopatra also studied many subjects. She learned mathematics, philosophy, science, and politics. This helped her understand trade, money, and government. She knew how to think clearly and make smart decisions. Unlike other rulers, she respected Egyptian culture. She learned about Egyptian gods and traditions and presented herself as the goddess Isis. This made the people trust and accept her. All this learning prepared Cleopatra for the great challenges ahead. Soon, her knowledge and intelligence would be tested in a dangerous fight for the throne of Egypt. Part 2. The First Gamble. Alliance with Caesar. 2.1. A throne divided. When Cleopatra was only 18 years old, her father died. According to tradition, she had to rule Egypt together with her younger brother, Ptolemy XIII. He was only 10 years old. At first, their names appeared together on official documents. However, real power did not belong to the young boy. It belonged to his advisors, men who wanted to control Egypt through him. These advisors saw Cleopatra as a threat. She was intelligent, confident, and independent. They feared she would rule alone and take away their influence. Slowly, they turned the court against her. Cleopatra was removed from power and forced to leave Alexandria. She lost her army, her palace, and her throne. She became a queen in exile, living in the desert lands of Syria. Many people would have given up at this point, but Cleopatra did not. She began to plan her return. She knew Egypt was rich, but it was also weak. Rome, the greatest power in the world, was watching closely. Cleopatra understood one truth. To regain her throne, she needed a powerful ally. 2.2 The Carpet and the Conqueror. In 48 BCE, the Roman general Julius Caesar arrived in Alexandria. He was one of the most powerful men in the world. Cleopatra knew this was her chance, but her enemies controlled the city. If she entered openly, she would be arrested or killed. So Cleopatra made a bold and dangerous plan. With the help of a loyal servant, she was secretly brought into the palace. She was wrapped inside a large carpet and carried into Caesar's private room as a gift. When the carpet was unrolled, Cleopatra appeared before him. This moment changed history. Cleopatra did not beg for help. She spoke calmly and confidently. She explained the problems in Egypt and offered Caesar an alliance. She impressed him with her intelligence, her clear thinking, and her courage. Caesar saw that she was not just a beautiful queen, but a clever and powerful ruler. He decided to support her. 2.3 Victory and a son. With Caesar's help, war broke out in Alexandria. Roman soldiers fought alongside Cleopatra's supporters. The fighting was fierce and dangerous. In the end, Ptolemy XIII was defeated and died in the Nile River. Cleopatra returned to the throne as the true queen of Egypt. Her alliance with Caesar was both political and personal. Soon, she gave birth to a son named Ptolemy Caesar, often called Caesarion. Cleopatra believed her child could unite Egypt and Rome one day. But this great dream did not last long. In 44 BCE, Julius Caesar was assassinated in Rome. Once again, Cleopatra faced an uncertain future, and her greatest gamble came to a sudden end. Part 3: Power and Partnership. The Antony Years. 3.1 A Spectacular Entrance. After the death of Julius Caesar, Rome fell into chaos. Power was shared by 3 men, and one of them was Mark Antony. He controlled the eastern lands of the Roman world. Antony summoned Cleopatra to meet him in the city of Tarsus. He wanted to question her loyalty to Rome. Cleopatra understood that this meeting could decide the future of Egypt. She did not arrive quietly. Cleopatra planned every detail with care. She sailed to Tarsus on a beautiful golden ship. The sails were purple, the oars were silver, and music filled the air. Perfumes spread across the river. Cleopatra dressed like Aphrodite, the goddess of love. Her servants were dressed like gods and angels from myth. This was not just a show. Cleopatra wanted to send a clear message. She was not a weak queen asking for mercy. She was rich, powerful, and confident. When Antony saw her, he was amazed. Cleopatra controlled the moment and the stage. From the very beginning, she showed that she was his equal. 3.2. An alliance of power and passion. The relationship between Cleopatra and Mark Antony was very different from her alliance with Julius Caesar. With Caesar, Cleopatra needed help to survive. She was young, in danger, and fighting to regain her throne. Caesar was far more powerful, and she depended on his support. With Antony, the situation had changed. Cleopatra was now an experienced ruler. Egypt was stable and wealthy. Antony was also strong, but he needed Egypt's money and ships. Their alliance was a partnership between two powerful leaders. They shared big dreams. Together, they wanted to build a strong Eastern Empire that could stand against Rome. Cleopatra supported Antony with gold, food, and soldiers. In return, Antony protected Egypt and gave her new lands. Their bond became both political and personal. Cleopatra and Antony had 3 children together. These children represented their shared future and their ambition. Cleopatra believed that her family could rule a vast empire across the East. For a time, it seemed possible. Egypt was rich, Antony was powerful, and their alliance frightened Rome. 3.3. A rival in Rome. However, not everyone accepted this growing power. In Rome, Antony had a dangerous rival. His name was Octavian, the adopted son of Julius Caesar. Octavian was young, clever, and very ambitious. He wanted to be the only ruler of Rome. Octavian knew he could not defeat Antony easily in battle, so he used words instead of swords. He began a powerful propaganda war. He told the Roman people that Antony had been corrupted by Cleopatra. He described her as a dangerous Eastern queen, a witch who controlled men with magic and charm. According to Octavian, Cleopatra wanted to rule Rome and destroy Roman traditions. This story was not true, but it was effective. Many Romans began to hate and fear Cleopatra. They also turned against Antony, seeing him as weak and disloyal. Slowly, tension grew between Rome and Egypt. 2 great powers were moving toward war. Cleopatra and Antony stood together, but the world around them was changing. The stage was set for a final and tragic conflict that would decide the fate of both lovers and of Egypt itself. Part 4. The final act. The fall of a dynasty. For point 1. The Battle of Actium. The final conflict between Rome and Egypt came in 31 BC. It was fought at sea near Actium, on the western coast of Greece. This battle would decide the future of the ancient world. On one side was Octavian, commanding a strong and disciplined Roman fleet. On the other side were the combined forces of Mark Antony and Cleopatra, with ships from Egypt and the eastern provinces. Cleopatra provided many ships and most of the money for the war. Her fleet was large and heavily loaded with treasure and supplies. Antony's soldiers were brave, but many were tired and hungry after long months of waiting. Octavian's forces were smaller, but they were better trained and more united. The battle was long and chaotic. Ships crashed into one another. Arrows and fire filled the air. Smoke covered the sea. In the middle of the fighting, something unexpected happened. Cleopatra's ships suddenly turned and sailed away from the battle. They moved south, back toward Egypt. For many years, people believed Cleopatra was afraid and ran away. But many historians think her decision was planned. She wanted to save her ships and Egypt's treasure in case the battle was lost. Cleopatra was thinking about survival, not just victory. Antony, however, did not understand her move. When he saw Cleopatra leaving, he believed she had abandoned him. Filled with emotion and confusion, he followed her with a few ships. Without their leaders, Antony's remaining forces lost direction. Octavian's fleet took control of the sea and won the battle. Actium was a complete disaster for Antony and Cleopatra. Their great dream of an Eastern empire was broken. After the defeat, they fled back to Alexandria, knowing that Octavian would soon come for them. For point 2, death of the lovers. Back in Egypt, hope was fading. Octavian's army moved closer to Alexandria. Antony tried to fight again, but his soldiers began to leave him. Many switched sides, believing the war was already lost. Then tragedy struck. Antony heard a false rumor that Cleopatra was dead. Broken by grief and shame, he believed there was nothing left to live for. He fell on his sword, trying to end his life. The wound did not kill him at once. Bleeding and weak, Antony was carried to Cleopatra, who was hiding in a secure tomb. Antony died in Cleopatra's arms. Their partnership, their love, and their dreams ended together. Cleopatra was now alone. Soon after, Octavian captured Alexandria. Cleopatra was taken prisoner. Octavian did not plan to kill her immediately. He wanted to take her to Rome and show her in chains during his victory parade. For Cleopatra, this was worse than death. She had lived as a queen all her life. She would not allow herself to be displayed as a defeated prize. Cleopatra made her final choice. She dressed in her finest royal clothes and prepared herself calmly. According to tradition, she arranged for a poisonous snake, an ASP, to be brought to her in a basket of figs. When the snake bit her, Cleopatra died peacefully. She was 39 years old. With her death, the Ptolemaic dynasty came to an end. Her children were captured, and Egypt lost its independence. Octavian became the ruler of Egypt, and the land of the pharaohs became a province of the Roman Empire. The fall of Cleopatra marked the end of an era. She was the last queen of ancient Egypt, and her life remains one of the most powerful and tragic stories in history. Part 5. The Enduring Legacy. Cleopatra's life ended more than 2,000 years ago, but her story has never disappeared. Even today, people around the world still speak her name. Many remember her as a beautiful queen or a tragic lover. But this image is incomplete. Cleopatra's true legacy is not about romance alone. It is about power, intelligence, courage, and the fight to control one's own destiny. First of all, Cleopatra was a capable and intelligent ruler. She ruled Egypt for more than 20 years during a very dangerous time. Rome was the strongest power in the world, and many small kingdoms were destroyed by it. Cleopatra managed to keep Egypt rich and independent for a long time. She understood economics, trade, and politics. She reorganized taxes, controlled corruption, and protected Egypt's wealth. These are not the actions of a weak or careless ruler. They show a sharp mind and strong leadership. Cleopatra was also the last pharaoh of ancient Egypt. With her death, more than 3,000 years of pharaonic rule came to an end. Egypt was no longer ruled by its own kings and queens. It became part of the Roman Empire. This makes Cleopatra a turning point in world history. Her life marked the end of the ancient world and the beginning of a new Roman age. Because of this, her story is remembered not only as a personal tragedy, but as the fall of an entire civilization. Another important part of Cleopatra's legacy is her image as a symbol of intelligence and ambition. She lived in a world ruled by men, yet she stood as their equal. She spoke many languages, negotiated directly with powerful leaders, and made bold political decisions. Cleopatra did not wait for others to decide her fate. She acted, planned, and took risks. Even when she failed on her own terms. This makes her a powerful symbol for people today, especially for women who seek strength and independence. Cleopatra also teaches us about courage. She faced betrayal, war, exile, and loss. She lost allies, lovers, and finally her kingdom. Yet she never gave up her dignity. In her final moments, she chose death over humiliation. This final act showed her strong will and pride. She remained a queen until the very end. In the modern world, Cleopatra continues to inspire books, films, art, and education. But beyond stories and images, her real influence is deeper. She reminds us that history is often written by the winners. For many years, Roman writers described her as dangerous or immoral to justify their victory. Today, historians look again and see a different woman, a skilled leader doing everything she could to protect her country. Cleopatra's life also speaks to our time because it raises timeless questions. How much power should one person hold? How far should we go to protect our home and our people? What does it mean to lead with intelligence instead of force? These questions are still important today. In the end, Cleopatra's legacy is not just about the past. It lives on in ideas of leadership, courage, and self-determination. She was not perfect, but she was unforgettable. Cleopatra remains a reminder that even in defeat, a strong spirit can shape history and echo through time.
Hey there! Just a second before you go. If you learned something new today, please give this video a like, write your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to the channel. It only takes a second, and it really, really helps to create even better English videos for you. Your support means the world. Thank you.